shadows dance in this twilight somber trance. Candles flicker, weary wicks, ancient echoes, time's cruel tricks, marble figures, frozen pose, amidst the silence sorrow grows. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room. Chandeliers and crystal tears reflect forgotten yesteryears, softly chanting distant cries. Through the arches sorrow sighs. Gargoyles watch with stony gaze, guardians of endless maze. Pipe organ's breath begins to rise, filling air with mournful ties. Whispering shadows, secrets keep in the depths where night meets sleep. Underneath the velvet gloom, guardians of the haunted room.
Good afternoon, chat. With any luck, OBS is behaving itself. I also notice that OBS has decided I currently don't have a face. Let's see if it can fix that. You can do it, OBS. I believe in you. There we go. I have a face. How are we doing today, everybody? Happy June the 13th, on Friday the 13th. Everything's going wrong, as is traditional. Welcome in, Will. Hello, Ed. Hello, Bully Snake. Nice to see many of the usual faces coming in. Hello, Introspective. It's been a morning. It's been a week. I promise I have done useful things. I've also done many useful things you guys won't get to see just yet. Oh, a bit quiet even for Twitch. I can fix that. Give me just a moment. Let me tinker with this and we'll see if that makes any difference. Is that any better? It's Zork! Oh no, terrible things will now happen. Press X for doubt. No, are we doubting that Zork exists or that I've been useful this week? Because, you know, either could be a thing. Much better? Pleased to hear it, Will. Pleased to hear it. Ed had a power glitch earlier today. Well, I hope that's rectified itself and nothing got damaged. So we have a slight problem at the moment this week, and that is that I have been left to my own devices. Aiden is currently out with the dogs at the park, and he will be back a little bit later on. And Lictor is not in a position to join us at the current moment. So unfortunately, you guys are stuck with me on my own, and that can only mean terrible, terrible things. Please ignore the maniacal cackling. Well, I mean, I kind of expect that at this point, Zork. I'd be worried if you stopped maniacally cackling. So I don't have yet no oversight. There is no oversight committee here. I continue to be a menace to society, and people have continued to fail to stop me. So we are here for some nonsense. You probably noticed the extra warning on stream startup this week because we're going to be talking about drugs. Thankfully, fictional, not real drugs that can't hurt any actual real people. But I thought I'd better throw the warning up just in case. No one's watching, we can have a party. I mean, we invented a whole load of party drugs in the last week, so I think it will probably be illegal for us not to have a party at this point. Nonsense is already here, yes. I have been left unsupervised. This is an everyone problem. Yes, I mean, I do try to sort of generally start my day that way, as many days as possible, is wake up and decide to be everybody else's problem. Because life is more fun when you don't have crippling ennui, and sometimes that's just better achieved by inflicting yourself upon the world as bold and bright as you possibly can. Cetacean hyper Viagra, we didn't invent that yet. So, what we are going to do this week, I think, is I do want to go back to the map work that we were doing last week because we barely got started on that before all of a sudden 2 hours had disappeared and I don't know what happened. So, that's going to be sort of the closing half of the stream. The first half of the stream, I want to go over all the cool things you guys came up with this week. We've got a whole load of foodstuffs, and we could discuss how food will work on Shoal. We've got a whole load of recreational drugs, and some that are probably definitely quite illegal. We also had some absolute nonsense start last week when people decided that, we need to have a 007 equivalent. So we have Bubble oh 07, and some of you guys came up with movie titles and lore, and this is all now canon, and I'm scared and alone, chat. I'm frightened and alone, and you keep doing crazy things, and it's a lot of fun. So we're going to look at that as well. If we go to 2 hours this week, great. If we don't, that will be fine as well. As I say, I have had a really, really busy week. I am working on a huge project that should be hitting the channel at the end of July that I hope you guys will like. It's been keeping me on my toes, as has some personal commission work. So it's just been a busy one. And we are, unfortunately, still living in this little tiny cottage in Washington State. And not back in our own home yet. And after, I think, what are we at now? 8 weeks, something like that, of living in a room and a half with 3 beagles. It's beginning to get to me. I might be just a little tiny bit stressed. And it's causing my weird brain TM to go off. So I did also spend some time this week writing stuff that was just purely my own projects. I've not spent a huge amount of time on my own projects this year, and I've just needed to. So I have indulged in some very over the top melodramatic writing, which I find very cathartic. I wouldn't say it's cabin fever, Zork. The desire to get out and do things isn't one that I really suffer from. I'm one of those people that as long as I'm, sort of left to my own devices and I've got a steady supply of tea, I'm quite happy in my own company. I will sit at a computer and I'd be quite happy if I didn't see another person for weeks on end. It doesn't give me an issue in the slightest, which is part of me having weird brain. I do have strange brain nonsense going on. I don't have a specific named condition, but I did go and have a full psychiatric suite done, and the psychiatrist turned around and went, yeah, you are officially weird, here is your paperwork that says so. So it's not the cabin fever that's the problem, it's just the nature of the cabin that's the problem. I don't have a chair with proper back support at the moment. We don't have a bed that has the right kind of mattress at the moment. The dogs are in close proximity and can get to everything we have because we don't have computer desks. So my entire setup for like the last month and a half, 2 months, has been on a coffee table. So the fact I've achieved anything in this time I consider to be, a mark of industriousness, but it's not been the easiest time. How long till we get back to our own house? The lease that our tenants who are currently in our house have runs out on June the 30th, but it looks like they might be looking to leave a week or so early. So hopefully it's only another couple of weeks. Our property management company, who has been managing our home while we've been away, will go in after they leave, make sure everything's in good order, and then any repairs or cleaning that needs to be done will happen, and then we will go home. So we are looking at in the relatively near future, just a couple of weeks, but it's been a time, and being able to hang out with you guys has definitely helped with that. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at the moment, and why I haven't necessarily written up the cool ideas you guys had in more detail than I have, but we do have them to look over this week, so that will be fun. Right, let's just double check I'm not getting yelled at over here. I am not. That's cool. All right, then. Let's take a look at what we are actually doing this week. Let me bring up Scrivener in front of me on my screen. Would you like to start with food and drugs, or would you like to start with 007? Nearly at the look back on this and laugh stage. Yeah, I mean, I can't say this has been the worst experience we had. Anybody who was here yesterday with Iden, as he was saying, he's lived in far worse accommodation. I've lived in far worse accommodation. This is hardly the worst place that we've been. It's just impractical. And it's the kind of impractical where, because we know this isn't long term, we can't do anything to rectify that practicality, because this place isn't ours and we're not staying long term and it's not worth it. So it's those frustrations that are creeping in. Zork is just officially known now as the toy maker, isn't he? The avatar of the toy maker from Shoal. All right, we will start with food and drugs then. Let me scroll down to where I put all of that into one place, and we will bring that up as our main scene on Scrivener and scroll to the top. Okay, so last week I set you guys some homework. I asked you to go away and think of some, specifically we were looking at candy, but people have come up with a whole range of foods. We have done a section on what food looks like on Shoal, back up in the technology section. Where was that? Because we can have a quick look over some of the stuff we did there. So yeah, we talked about in early technology that food and shelter were major drivers of early technological development, just like it was on Earth. We talked about spawning corridors and fish nurseries, cave walls and nutrient farms where algae and underwater fungi and kelp and the like are grown, the need for farming. Once we moved into the basis of society, we started talking about cooking in a bit more detail. And I'll read that section out before we move on to our foods, because I think it'll be relevant to have that knowledge in mind. So we decided that for cooking on Shoal is a celebration of contrast, chemistry and complexity, shared as much by species biology as by environment. Naturally, fish make up a significant portion of Shoaly diets, but every society on Shoal has developed elaborate food traditions that incorporate preservation methods, local flora and fauna, and psionic resonance. Almost everywhere one may find plate coral, a ubiquitous and edible organism that produces a thin, flexible membrane. It functions as both an ingredient and a wrapper, used for steamed meals, cold preserves and ceremonial dishes. Its mild umami base and ability to take on surrounding flavours makes it a culinary backbone, much like rice, seaweed or flatbread on Earth. While it might be assumed that hot food only became common after land colonisation, this is not the case. Shoaly learned to cook early by harnessing thermal vents, lava tube heat pockets, and later mobile ceramic vessels placed on heated outcroppings or brought above water on surface rafts. Cooking allowed Shoaly to tenderize difficult prey, neutralize venom, and unlock nutrients, especially important for species with low internal oxygen processing like the cephalinids. Notably, Shoaly cuisine does not universally emphasize temperature. Where heat is unavailable or unnecessary, food may instead be treated with acids, salts, mild venoms, or fermentation agents, drawing out texture and flavour through chemical processes. Across the species, preferences diverge in fascinating ways. Cephalinids favour foods high in mineral content and easy to digest in small, frequent meals. Their tentacle-tipped taste receptors mean that texture is just as important as flavour. Soft interior with crunchy shell, or slick surface with hidden resistance. Light bioluminescence in dishes is considered elegant, and foods are often plated in spirals or lattices to stimulate their chromatophore responses. Serratinoids prioritise nutrient density and practicality. Their robust jaws and slow digestive cycles make them fond of heavily cooked or fermented meals, and they have no taboos around cannibalistic recycling of non-sapient tissues. Many serratinoid dishes are shell-based, requiring cracking or levering, and emphasise umami and bitterness over sweetness. Pheromonal additives are common in deep dweller cuisine to stimulate appetite or indicate social role. Laticals are sharp-sensed omnivores with refined palates for sourness and salt. Their wide visual spectrum includes UV, and dishes meant for display often incorporate UV-reactive glazes or cuts of sponge that fluoresce under certain lights. As semi-terrestrial omnivores, they have the widest range of cooking methods, from charred land insects to raw kelp wraps. Podlands prefer high-fat and high-metal content foods that fuel their rapid metabolism and support shell development. Their sensory tendrils are acutely responsive to heat and chemical gradients, and they tend to enjoy dishes with spicy or tingling after effects. Food is often wrapped or embedded in clay and slow baked near vent stones, then cracked open to reveal a tender centre. Salacians, being obligate carnivores, prefer fresh kills or protein slurries. However, their Sous-cellar symbiotes participate in food selection and digestion, making meal sharing both social and intimate. Some shark folk flavour flesh-sheared cuts that sting with acidity or citrus, while whale folk enjoy large, slow-consumed meals where the psionic aura of the dish is more important than its colour or shape. Certain preparations involved scented oils or psionic infusions to stimulate bonding or induce calm before deep dives. Throughout shoal, food preservation emphasises motion and contrast. Where Terrans value colour and symmetry, shoalie often prize shifting textures across a meal, the play of scent and water flow over receptors, the psionic echo a dish leaves in memory, UV shimmer or phosphorescent glow, especially for formal meals, and dishes that can be shared without speaking, but understood through motion or psionic undertone. Finally, pheromonal cuisine plays a subtle role in some shoalie cultures, particularly among laticals and serratinoids, where dishes may contain infused scent signals to communicate mood, emotional availability, or social status. These aren't aphrodisiacs, but emotive indicators, especially used in courtship or family meals. So that was where we were at, and we're now adding to all of that with all of the cool things that you guys invented. I'm just going to pop over and see what chat is saying before I carry on. My efforts to canonise us all continue. You've been doing wonderfully with that, Ed. And I certainly want, when we finally get this compendium, complete, or at least, in a mostly finished state, I want to have a section at the end that, sort of says, this is a reference to this. This is a reference to this. These are the major contributors who were here along the way. I do think we need to have those call-outs because this is, a communal project, and that's what makes it fun. Let's see. Erica, our resident religious expert, says Zork is the avatar of the toy maker, who is in turn a shaper song of the Sea Forge. Zork is a menace. I can shorten that down for you. Zork is a menace. Cetacean hyper-Viagra is for when they need to outbreed dangers. It's outlawed for everyone save cetaceans due to it causing their hearts to stop, which means an utter sea of soft shells. I like how you've done shoalie history as errors, and each error is well done. It seemed like the easiest way to break it down, because of course ideally what I'd like when we're done with this project and we begin just writing within this universe, and we won't be growing it as extensively as we are in this phase, I'd like for the document to be in a stage where people who have no idea what shoal is and have never seen a single one of these streams will pop in and be able to read the document and go, oh, I understand all of this. This all makes sense, and this is in an order that I can, follow through and be on the same page, and now I can join in. So doing it by error sounded the simplest. Oh, Introspective wants to give the crabs the Viagra. I don't know if giving the crabs the Viagra would be a good idea. I like the idea of the whales and the sharks having it, because they'll have a slower breeding cycle where that would be more important. I think having that on the whale people would be very, very cool. Yes, and Grimo says, do not give crabs the Viagra. It occurs to me that, you know, us or ain't with the weird quotes that are all kept. Some of the weirdest are going to start coming from Shoal at this rate. What else have we got? The Orcs is mostly a herd of menaces. It just varies as to degree. Yes, the Orcs is nothing but a collection of strange internet menaces. I have no idea how to quote you, Grimo, so I am very sorry. This is one command that I've never bothered to learn on Twitch. Because there's this dude called Grimos who always does it, and I don't worry about it. The Viagra is for when the crabs need to rapidly repopulate or murder something via mass numbers. That just sounds like Tuesday for them. Right, I'm going to be sipping at drinks as we go through this because I woke up late this morning because it's Friday the 13th and everything is going wrong. So I haven't eaten anything today and I've barely drunk anything. So I'm sorry for the pauses. I do need to get some fluids into me. If I ever get business cards, I will definitely add strange internet menace. Yes, you absolutely should. All right, let's take a look at the cool things that you guys came up with. So this is a section just based on everything you guys popped over in the Orcs over the last week. And I started out with just a little blurb. Foods, the trick with sweets and food in general in Shoal is it has to be waterproof for most species to have it. Many foods and sweets would be a dry land only thing or need to be created on the surface before returning underwater. Seasoning would also be tricky underwater because it would just float away unless it was stuck to or inside the food. Solutions, therefore, that immediately come to mind, because of course we can have some foodstuffs that are just above water. That is a thing we can absolutely have, banding for foods where, well, you can't have this underwater, but you can have it on the surface and possibly vice versa. But one of the solutions that would allow for foods to exist in both locations is bottling, which perhaps started as barnacling, where you would take barnacle shells and seal food inside them. And that would be important on Shoal, as would injecting flavour inside foodstuffs. Some food is just for the surface and land, though, and that's fine too. So that was my notes I made on what we needed to think about. Very oily foods would seem to work. They would resist the water and help build up a blubber layer. Yep, some oily foods would absolutely be a solution to the problem. And, some foods are perhaps just grown to be tasty at fruition. The way that you grow it is more important than trying to do, post-harvesting treatment for some foods. And one of those could potentially be the bloom shrooms. Sweet-flavoured mushrooms whose caps are mildly psychoactive, but it just improves mood a little. I'm kind of down for those being a underwater thing, and you just eat them raw. I think that would be a pretty cool idea, is to just have, we grow these deliberately because they just taste good as is. If we grow them right, we get a nice tree, and then we just sell them. Oh God, I can hear the baying of the hounds. The beagles have returned. I'm going to pause for a second because Aiden is about to bring the dogs in from the park, and that's probably going to be noisy. Yes, the boogles are home. The boogles have returned, and they will come a-boogling this way momentarily. Hello, Rail. I'm pleased to see you. You have, in fact, remembered this week, which is good because we're talking about a lot of drugs this week, which can, make people forget things. So, I suppose you could have a land animal eat sugar until it dies of diabetes, then take it underwater and eat it. Ed! Ed, no! Omnivorous crabs eat everything. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They eat literally everything. We do know that about the crabs. Okay. There is about to be a beagle influx. Hello, babies. Did you have a good time? What have you been doing? What have you been doing? Oh, you've got a big pup date? Oh, I'm sure chat will love to hear about that.
They made a new friend.
Did you make new friends?
Exceedingly shy.
Oh.
Came out of their shell.
Okay, so Aiden's going to have pup stories for us when he comes in. So we'll let him do that in a moment once he feeds the dogs. I did also hear a Discord ping, so I'm going to guess I might perhaps have a lictor.
Stealthy but
Wonderful. Let me head over to OBS and check that chat can hear you. There we go. Say something, Victor.
I will say something, Victor.
Fantastic. And hopefully OBS is saying that everything's working, so I'm going to guess that chat can now hear you. And can probably hear the beagles yelling in the background for lunchtime.
Yes. If anything comes across this for my channel, please ignore it.
Nothing is happening in Lictus' neck of the woods, we swear.
Yes, absolutely. It's all fine.
Everything's
There
fine.
is no war. There is no war in Bossing.
Correct. No war in
Anyway.
Bossing. Blue shrooms were intended to answer the question, how would Sholey do chocolate? That's fair.
Oh.
That is fair. We have...
Very mildly psychoactive.
Yes.
Yes.
Which,
just
admittedly,
like
yeah, chocolate is wonderful for that.
yes.
One of the other wonderful weird things about Lady Red, who is a conglomeration of poorly put together parts, is I love chocolate. It's very good for me. It's I find it very relaxing at times when I'm a little bit stressed. I'm also mildly allergic to it, and it makes me sneeze.
Oh my.
No, I would not. Thank you, dear. Yeah, chocolate makes me sneeze. It does literally nothing else. It doesn't bring my skin up. It doesn't cause me any other distress, but I sneeze. So I will eat the chocolate, and then like 10 minutes later, I will have a single sneeze, and then on we go. I don't know why. Doctors do not know why. It makes no sense, but there is a definitive correlation.
That is one of the weirdest wall curses I have ever heard.
Yes.
It is up there with slightly moist footwear. Like you sneeze when you eat chocolate.
Yep. I sneeze if I eat chocolate. I don't know why. I don't know why. This is just a thing that happens. I am also lactose intolerant, Wilf. I'm thankfully not horrendously lactose intolerant. Now, if I eat ice cream, I'm going to have a bad time. But a bit of chocolate, I just sneeze.
Okay.
Yeah, I am definitively put together incorrectly, weird and wrong. And you lot are stuck with me. Right, hello, Kai. Welcome in. Kai, I need you to scroll up through chat and find a ridiculous quote from Lord Grimos and quote it, if you don't mind. Where was the quote? It was something to do with crabs.
What?
Where was it? Do not give crabs the Viagra. If you would, Kai.
Oh my.
What would I would say I need context, but you know what?
You don't need
But you know what?
context.
No,
you have as
I
much
don't
context as you need.
I have all the context, and I will. No.
All right, let's have a look at some more of the lovely things that chat came up with now that the dogs are settled. So the second one we had was seaweed snacks. Various flavours of seaweed rolled up into bites, wrapped around different seeds and flavourings, carried up to the surface briefly to dry out, and then pulled back down to be sold. I think that just makes sense. I can't see a good reason why flavoured seaweed would not just be a very common snack on Shoal. So that one, I thought that one was really good. The next one we have, I think, is going to be a surface-only food, but I really love the concept of it. And that was geode crunchies. Flavoured sugar crystals, sweet, sour, slightly salty, savoury, and others, think Japanese candy flavours, dipped in the chocolate equivalent of shoal, meant to mimic different mineral formations from certain biomes of shoal. I like the visual bit that goes with that you're making something that's, representative, and geode crunchies is a great name for that. So I really like that one, but I think it would probably only work above water.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? That's not necessarily true. The dipping, the thing you dip in, could be mildly hydro retardant, and could be could serve as a filament against the water.
So we could have a way of bringing it underwater.
Yeah, I mean, if so long this is hard candy as opposed to something mushy.
Let me put this in then. Hard candy variant using hydrophobic edible resin allows these to also be enjoyed underwater. How does that sound?
Sounds great. hydrophobic, yes, not hydro-retardant.
And I wrote
Yes.
hydrophobia instead of hydrophobic because I'm hopeless. All right, next one was Hot Pops, a seed-based snack made from the seed pods of shallower kelp breeds, heated until the shell is split by the expanding insides. First found after supplies shipped to volcanic work areas exploded in the extreme heat. The Shoaly have popcorn, and I think that's
Yes.
great. I thought that one was
Yes.
really, really good. Underwater denizens of shoal not interested in salty food due to the salt content of water, numbing them to its effects. I think for the creatures that live underwater exclusively, that's probably going to be the case, is that would just be sort of like their mundane baseline. Salt would be bland to them. But for our species that perhaps live more on the surface, whether in the migratory surface sort of boat fleets or whether on land, they might have a different attitude to it. So we can always have both, and they just certain flavors are more valued in different areas.
Can I suggest something for the hot pops?
Sure.
Some type of uh, because things in shoal are sea creatures and they tend to lay tons of eggs,
Mm-hmm.
like little in the thousands.
Yep.
Um, hot pops, but they're specific sea urchin eggs, and you
Okay.
have and they pop and you push them through some sort of a heated location, and you get a protein packed popping like popcorn, but from protein, but a protein based. For the crabs that want to be buff, they need
Yeah,
their
and
extra
that
protein.
also makes hot pops viable for our Celestians because they're obligate carnivores. So they can have
There you
popcorn
go.
too. All right.
Yes.
I think I heard an Iden slide in. Hello, Iden.
Hello.
A complete item.
And
Oh
also
my
there's Pip.
God.
The trifecta is now complete.
The beagle
Indeed.
boogling continues. All right. I'd
Yes.
like the pup date, but after we finish going through the foods before we go into drugs. Okay? You can tell me what happened.
Food,
I
dogs, drugs, in order.
food dogs.
Understood.
I love everything about it.
So the next one you guys came up with was berry bites. Certain berries of water plants are very sweet, so they are processed down and made into all kinds of candy, almost a gummy type. So I was thinking for this one, part of the problem that we're going to have if you render things down from their original berry form is, water erodes and can be an issue. So I wonder if perhaps berry bites underwater is you reduce down the berries to make it more concentrated, and that's one of the things that you find inside barnacles. And then you stick just a little straw in the side, and you've basically got an underwater Capri Sun.
I love it. Also, possibility using the same technology from the jailed crunchies with the hydrophobic edible resin.
Yep.
Parabite, you have a liquid suspended in hydrophobic resin that you uh, crunch into, and you get a blast of flavor into your mouth.
Okay. So either way, you stick in a straw or crunch it open to get the sweet insides. There we go.
Impregnating the tissue of an edible barnacle with the berry juice and then eating it.
Yeah, that could be one way that barnacling works. I just like the
Sure.
idea of using barnacles as like natural bottles in the early days, and that it's just carried through, especially for because you know how you can go to like candy stores that are all based around being like Victorian era candy stores, and they make everything the old traditional way. I like the idea of barnacles over bottles being used in that regard. It's one of those things where my art brain is just like I can visually see that, and that makes me happy. Rather than
Okay.
my writer brain.
No,
Instead of
yes.
Sunny D, it's Shoaly C. All right, let's take a look at our next one. Our next one is kelp gum, a simple gum-like substance derived from common kelp. Comes in a dizzying array of flavours, with new ones coming out seemingly every month. And I imagine that the gum that's derived from that is going to be, one, naturally hydrophobic, and two, the flavors is just because they're growing this stuff all over the place in new and unique ways every single time. So I thought that one was fairly self-explanatory and was just fine as it was.
You might want to scroll down, because right now we're seeing the tippy top of the berry bites, and we can see
How's that? That should have moved along. If it hasn't, then OBS is being weird. There we go. We should be good.
Yes.
We should be good.
No, we are not. Oh, wait, we are good. I am just not streaming.
I was gonna say,
I
I
am
just flicked over to stream and it looks fine. Oh no, what did I do?
I feel bad.
Alrighty. So next one is Kippy Bites, a common savoury snack made from a rapidly breeding small fish, the kippy, that also help clean kelp farms of small pests and harvested after the kelp. So I'm thinking this is just like sort of a dried jerky, salt treated or whatever, nice, simple, savoury snack.
Yeah, wrapped in some sort of a chewy membrane to give it to give it a little bit more bite.
Crunchies, little bits of hardened kelp, usually coated in sugar or savoury flavours. If we're going to do a coating on hardened kelp, I feel like that's going to have to be a surface-only food. Because sugar and savoury flavours would just get washed off. So, and I'm quite happy to have some surface-only foods.
Yeah.
The next suggestion was...
Yeah, the thing about that is, cinnamon and other powdery seasonings would in fact wash off, which is why I imagine the big thing for flavoring stuff wouldn't be rubs and dry seasonings on top so much as injecting the seasonings into.
Yeah, which we've talked about for some of the other foods, but I think it's also nice to have some of those foods that would use processes that we're familiar with and are exclusively available on land. Which would make, we're going to visit the seashore for, sea treats, uniquely interesting. I see Baker Base has popped in. First time here for this. What's the setting for this writing exercise? So you've stumbled into Shoal, which is the community writing project I've been running since January. What we started with was the concept of underwater mecha setting. It has now grown into a ridiculous setting with 5 underwater races on an ocean moon orbiting a gas giant in the far-flung reaches of the universe, where psionics are real. Coral, spelt with an H in it, is how mecha are brought to life. They have their own pseudo-personalities, and we've been developing the entire setting from the ground up. We literally started with, what does the solar system look like? We are currently at the point where we're like, what recreational drugs do our people enjoy? So it's been an interesting journey. If you'd like to know more, there is a channel in the Orcs Discord. I'm going to link the Discord now if you are not a member, though I imagine most of the people who are here have already joined. If you head into the creative writing section, you will find a thread entitled General Shoalnanigans. And that's where you can find links to all of the Shoal materials, including a PDF of everything that we've set up for this setting so far. So if you'd like to know more, pop in there, take a look at the PDF. We have a good time over there. We invent new things every week. Last week was War Crimes. This week we are doing drugs, food, and alcohol and other fun stuff. And goodness only knows what we'll come up with next week. So if you'd like to join in, Baker Base, we would love to have you. Okie dokie, so what was the next one on the list? Flame Tears, a fungal bulb that's loaded with capsaicin and sugars that once cooked caramelizes into a spicy treat. I like the idea of that one. I like the idea of injecting the flavours into it and being able to sort of boil it on thermal vents underwater so that it's both underwater and above water compliant.
This is brilliant. On several levels.
I really like that one. Nitro nuggets. Bits of fish brined in various spices, then wrapped in kelp and fried till crispy on the outside. Super spicy. Shipped underwater inside barnacle casings.
Yes, yes.
Last week was War Crimes is a Wild Sentence. We had some fun last week with War Crimes. Chat is dangerous.
Oh my god, did we? You guys are all maniacs.
Zork especially.
Zork is just a
Yeah.
monster.
Zork is a
Zork
menace.
just got, yeah, they got the Canadian hat, the Canadian of honor.
Excellent. All right. Next one. Bubbalos, a promotional snack served at screenings of 007 movies, made from mushroom stuffed fried kelp rings.
I love the fact that the 007 legend
We're
grows.
gonna
Oh
go
my
to 007 in
god.
just a minute. The last ones that were suggested were sour luastra pearls, spicy mern drops, sea peaches, abyssal bananas, and barnacle sliders, with no further description. But I thought every single suggestion that you guys came up with in the last week was viable and cool, and I liked them. So we can expand on those later. I am keeping an eye on the time because there's a lot I want to get through this week. So that was the food stuffs that you guys came up with, and I don't think there's a single one there that we need to take out.
No, it's all wonderful. I want to eat everything.
I see you smiling there in chat, Zork.
Yes, we see you. We know you.
Okie dokie. So before I move on to drugs, I need to get up and use the restroom, and Aiden has a pup date for us and can tell us what he's been doing with the dogs before he came and joined stream. So I'm going to step away for just a moment.
Love,
Yes.
do you want video?
No, because that's going to be a lot of messing around, and it's something we can show next week.
Oh, hang on, we have a first-time chat. So, Edwin, you showed up just in time for a brief intermission while the lady gets up to do a bio break. What you've stumbled into is Shoal, which is a setting... Hang on. Anka! The dogs are trying to steal things off of their mother's desk again. Anyway, Shoal is a setting that was originally conceived of mechs, but underwater. And it is then exploded into a full setting that is being built by the community, with Red being the person who started this whole thing, but with a lot of material that has been pulled together from the community as a whole, everybody in chat. Starting with how does the solar system function, and moving into such spans as well, we did war crimes after discussing the nature of warfare under the sea in Shoal previously. Currently, we're on, snack foods, and we're going to move into the hard drugs, recreation among the Shoaly people of the different civilized species. It's a fairly expansive project, and the whole goal is to make a community-built primer on it so that people can write stories in the setting.
What he said.
Which they do with delightful frequency. Ah, yes, and introspective is sure is correct. Crabs being crabs as they are in every crab, they are crustacean. They are doing the crustacean thing.
Yep. So, since you requested the pup date, love, so I rolled into stream a little bit late today because the dogs were at the park. They made a friend. They made a brand new friend, and they were very excited, and the new friend was not sure if they were excited back. There was a Malinois Australian Shepherd mix of 2 years of age that was wandering by, and of course, Anka and Pip, the moment they see a new friend to make, they start going ballistic with the song of their people. Very, very loud. They're at the fence line making all of the ruckus because friend, 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 friend. Also, Steel Griffin, I recognize that song. Anyway, the thing is, the Malinois Shepherd mix was a rescue that was very shy around other dogs. But after a discussion with the owner, who, was giving her the chance, her name was Lucy, by the way, to sniff at the fence with tail tucked and kind of try and figure out what the hell these two screeching hellions were. He, after being informed that the three beagles are very friendly and will not be any harm or hazard to his dog, brought Lucy in. And immediately Lucy is hiding between his legs because Anka and Pip are right on top of her yelling because they're excited and want to play. Yep, Anka laid on the keyboard.
This week it was Anka and not Pip who did the thing.
All right.
Well-
Yep, Anka did the thing. So yeah, Lucy went from hiding between her dad's legs, doing her best to not engage with the other dogs, to once the excitement wore off and the two beagles stopped shouting, slowly, timidly coming to butt sniff and see what the other dogs were about, to by the end, she was hell bent on trying to herd Saris, and Saris was having none of it. Because Saris plays fetch obsessively, so she's running after the tennis ball away from the rest of us. And Lucy's like, no, get back here. So she's chasing Saris the whole way, barking at her and trying to herd her back. And Saris is shouting at Lucy through the tennis ball like, stop it, stop it, stop it. And of course, it took us a few minutes to realize what was going on, but then once Anka and Pip ran off after the second ball, and she was like, no, 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 get back here. I'm like, oh my god, she's hurting them. And it was delightful. I will try and share some video. Let me see if I can get the video into the aux in the pup channel.
Yeah, but if not, it gives you something to show next week, and then, that gives us some time to sort the video out and throw it up properly, and we can have a nice visual pup date next week. I do have the last visual pup date if people desperately want to see the dogs today. I have Pip's adventure with the camera on his back, if people want to see that again. Beagles are not sheeps. No, they are very much not sheeps.
Yeah, like I was unaware of what a Malinois is until I asked the question. Like, I know about Australian Shepherd. Is Malinois a herding dog? He's like, yes. This now makes sense. This makes so much sense.
Alrighty, let's move over to the drugs you guys came up with. Now, there's something I didn't do that I want to do. How many foods did you guys come up with? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 16 foods were on our list. I wonder if we came up with more drugs than foods. Let's take a look. So, brief note on drugs. Instead of uppers and downers, they're called shallows and deeps as categories because of the ocean mindset. As on Earth, drugs on Shoal range across a gamut. Some are legal, recreational, and easily available. Some are illegal, cut with substances, and can cause death. Shoaly PSAs are thankfully not as condescending as Earth, however. Aiden, flick your mic.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Right, so let's look at drugs. Now, the very first one that I saw when I flicked over to the Orcs after last week came to us from Cookie Mama, and I absolutely love this. So, Cookie Mama suggested that instead of cigarettes and smoking, the Shoaly have gill wraps. These are used instead of smoking. Every time you breathe, you get the chemicals pulled into your system. It does have some of the same bad effects in that it's messing with O2, but drugs is drugs. I love the idea of having like a film that the Shoaly just pop over their gills and they smoke. I really love that idea. That's so visual and so uniquely Shoal.
10 out of 10.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
when I
Cookie
read that
Mama.
one, when I read that, I was like, 10 out of 10, no notes, this is perfect. Absolutely, the Shoaly have gill wraps.
Yes.
So I think we've got Eric in chat, and I'm very much hoping he's still here because there might be some extra context to this one. The next one was something he suggested called Red Water, a drug derived from flowborn that have been blessed by the blooming delight, the tide, or have otherwise drank from dreams. It's a powerful hallucinogen and soporific that gives consumers incredibly vivid, memorable, and immediate dreams. Use with caution. So the way I've been approaching religion on Shoal from my standpoint, all credit goes to Eric for the incredible menagerie of gods and belief systems that we had. He has done amazing work on it. But the way that I've been looking at it from a sort of top level narrative perspective is that religion should be similar to on Earth, which is that it's very widely available. There's a range of beliefs between people, which the system that Erica has set up is perfect for. But that we're not directly saying, yes, gods are real, yes, definitively divine power happens. People believe that it does. And as with real world religion, people believe in miracles, believe in certain stories, and etc. And I'm not trying to tell anybody that anything's right or wrong, but I feel like we should have that same attitude on Shoal, where it's not necessarily guaranteed that, yes, this is a godly act of intervention. People certainly believe it is, other people believe that it's not, and that there may be other explanations for things. So this plays very heavily into all of the religious theming that Erica has come up with for us, which I'm completely fine with. There is uncertainty. That's exactly the way of putting it, Ed. Yes. So we might need some more detail on exactly how this one works, especially as right now we don't have the context in this document of what the Flowborn are or the Blooming Delight. So I didn't know whether you wanted to expand on this a little bit in chat, Eric, and I can read it out to give our new people who haven't been here some idea of the details of this. I will carry on reading the next ones in case Eric wants to do that, and then we can come back. But go on.
Also, the dog videos are, in fact, in the pet pics section of the Aux.
Also, head into the Discord. You can see nonsense with our dogs over there. They are very cute if you haven't seen them before. All right, our next drug is Silencer. Started as an official treatment for psi disorders, but got out of hand. Psionic creatures take larger and larger amounts to silence the world when they haven't developed the skills to do so themselves. Starts to burn neurons and slowly drives the users mad. So I'm seeing a world in which Silencer is, in certain circumstances, a legal drug or a prescribed drug or a corporate offered medical treatment. We know we have areas that we want to send some of our Shoaly into that have particularly high psionic power, where they're going in to harvest the corals that are producing that. So I can see this being given as a medicinal dose and as a tool to allow for that to happen without people getting hurt. But that for some people, they enjoy the quiet, not as in quiet, the organism that we've talked about before, but just, normal quiet. That they enjoy having that sort of like little dampened, but it'll be like being on a nice suppressant, where you're just gliding and everything seems quieter and nicer, and then before you know it, you're taking too much and everything starts to go wrong. So I really liked the idea of that one. I could see how that could be used in so many different ways.
So before we move on, a couple questions coming out of chat. I already answered Baker Base, but yes, volcanism is very prevalent in certain parts of the setting on the basis of that's where the forge cities were originated, is lava vents and tubes that allowed for the development of basic metallurgy before service colonization allowed for wider end. If you have an idea, go ahead, drop it in chat or drop it in the Shoal thread in the Aux. Either way, it'll get seen, and we can make with the discussion.
Absolutely. The wonderful thing about communal writing, and especially doing it, when I started this, I really didn't know how communal writing with Twitch chat was going to go. And it was either going to be brilliant or it was going to be a disaster. And thankfully, it's ended up being brilliant. But the document that we have is a living document. We can always continue adding to it. It's not like any drugs we come up with and settle on today are the only ones we can ever have. If we come up with a good reason for there to be new ones or some cool new ideas and we want to add things in, we can. There's nothing stopping us. So, Wilf says that silence would be like a sensory deprivation chamber. It's supposed to be therapeutic, can be harmful if misused. Absolutely. And I really liked this one because I could immediately see how I could put it into, how it's used in corporations, how it's a regulated drug, how there's a version that could be sold over the counter, how it's misused. It was one of those where I could immediately see how it fit into multiple stories, which, perfect. Always what you want for a writing section.
Our newcomer to chat has already started contributing by adding a new detail to one of the drugs listed, swimmer.
Okay, let me read Swimmer out first, then I'll come back to that chat message, because that seems like the sensible way of doing it. It would help if I loaded the right Scrivener screen. There we go. Okay, so next we had Disco Pearls. Basically a combo of the good parts of pot and likely psychedelic like acid or shrooms, usually placed under the tongue and consumed socially. So I'm thinking there'll be a particular bivalve that makes these, and yeah, that absolutely works for shoal. No notes, that one's fine. So, swimmer. Processed toxins from pufferfish-like creatures. Induces full body muscle relaxation in small doses. So let's see what we had added to that. Edwin has suggested that we add, there are cases known where people affected by the drug draw geometric patterns without realising they have done it. For what these patterns look like, Google pufferfish nest. Cool. That sounds like a very nice thematic element to add in. Let me paste that underneath so that we have it. And
Bloody hell.
let me go and have a look.
Yeah, let me
what...
Google
Yeah,
that.
Yeah, and then I'll bring it
you
over.
should.
Let me bring over an image. I need to find one.
That can
first.
start a religion.
Oh, it's these! Yes, I've seen these before. Yeah, they're like
Mandalas.
underwater crop circles.
They're like weird biologically generated
The
mandalas.
stupid thing is, I should have remembered exactly what these look like, because when I worked at Legoland, we had a pufferfish in one of the tanks, and he would make these patterns on the bottom.
God damn it.
Let me
Okay.
save this to desktop so I can bring it over, and then everybody will be able to see it.
The world is so fucking weird.
It is. Life is unique and interesting and cool. Label this puffer nest. Okay.
I also really love the fact that we have people popping in for the very first time and just immediately diving headlong into
That's what we
joining the
like.
fun.
Okay, here we go. This is what a pufferfish nest looks like. They're like little underwater crop circles, and they're very, very, very cool.
Pufferfish are pretty cool.
Is it going to show? There we go, there we go. Okay, so stream's just lagging quite far behind what I'm up to. That is fine. Let's see what else chat has had to say. Just got to work. What did I miss? We've gone through some foodstuffs, Baron of Derpshire, and we're currently in the drugs section. But you haven't missed Bubble 07. We haven't gotten that far yet, so we're fine there.
I'm so proud of that catching on.
Bully Snake says, Disco Pearls, when you want to see Elysium. I'm copying that into the document. You terrible, horrible person, you. There we
You
go.
get
Zalcion, continued usage will result in further changes to psychology and the pattern's complexity, going so far as to include colors that follow mathematical formulas the user doesn't understand. Now we're going full Dead Space with the marker here, which is terrifying.
you just went complete Titan infection from Eclipse Phase.
All right, let me turn off the puffer nest so you guys can see what's in front of me and we can carry on. All right, let's put Swimmer down for now. Move on to the next one. We have Blast Dust, powdered pieces of forge fuel. Originally found by forge workers in need of a boost, the modern version is mixed with kelp gum. It is usually ingested via placing it in the cheek and chewing it. It causes the heart to race and the body-mind to fill with energy. Overuse stains the mouth black and causes muscle spasms. Also gives the user hyperfocus and a compulsion to create or break things. I like to think of this like Turbometh coffee.
That sounds like gut or cut, however you say that in English. The thing that you do in Yemen.
Yes.
How do you say that in English?
I think
You'd
it
have
has.
to spell it for me.
I think it has multiple pronunciations depending on where you are, but I've heard it called ket. So
Yeah.
Also,
So
Baker
that
Base has dropped an idea for an extremophile derived narcotic that gives the sensation of being by a lava vent, which means you're burning your nervous system from the inside out if you're not already an extremophile.
so you're so essentially in vein capsaicin.
Yeah, I just want to shoot, Carolina
I would.
Reaper juice up into my veins is what this sounds like, which, I guess some people are into that if that's
I mean, Rob has Striker has done it on stream in the BPL. So
I mean, Mad Ducks does that kind of thing for funsies, not the shooting it up, but the dude's tolerance for spice is
is spicy.
bananas.
Yeah, yeah.
all right,
Some
let me
people
click.
do not feel pain.
Okay, let's move down to our next ones because I'm sure we've got more wonderful, terrible things, and some of them were written by Zork.
Yeah, Kai, I'm not channeling
Some of
ducks.
them are.
I was just reading out some of what Baker Base came up with, and the idea was like, oh, this sounds like a horrifying thing to do to yourself.
All right, speaking of horrifying things to do to ourselves, our next one is mute, an extremely illegal substance synthesized from quiet venom. When injected into the base of the skull, it muffles everything, psionics included. Repeated usage causes psychic burnout.
Yeah. I mean, this was researched as a biological weapon,
I was gonna say
and
that's something that's been used for enhanced interrogation of the very illegal kind.
it, like they like to say, bubbly Prussian tactics.
It always comes back to war crimes.
There's
Well,
no crimes like a war crimes.
All right, our
that
next
is
one is
true.
Scorcher, a liquid substance derived from the hottest sea vents, commonly used among athletes and Titan pilots for amplified aggression, reaction speed, endurance, and pain resistance. Repeated use causes scorch marks along the veins. I liked that one.
That actually sounds tangentially similar to what Baker was saying, and
Yes.
Baker posted it before we scrolled down
Yeah,
here. So,
and I have the notes from that at the bottom, so I'll converge those together when I do a full write up.
oh yeah, convergent thinking. I love it.
Okay,
Yep.
our next one is sweepers, which is what happens when you swim too close to certain tiny species of fish, non-sentient, that get you high as their waste is a drug. Shoalies swim with the fish and get lost. There's a whole service that pays to track you and guide you back home. Might be a religious significance for certain groups, question mark.
Ah,
Sounds about
yes.
right. Yes, the
I'm
mushrooms, just surely.
I'm gonna get high as a kite on fish poop and just go off somewhere.
But you've got to remember that the Shoalie will look at that differently to how we do, because if you live in the ocean, I mean, you're breathing in everything that's in the ocean. It's just normal.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna honestly make the reference to the Fallout series where Jet, one of the more common drugs you find in the Fallout series, is refined from Brahmin farts. You're literally
Charming.
huffing cow fart to get high.
All right, our next one is called Top Pop. Bubbles of a laughing gas like substance, usually created with a hookah like device, induces euphoria. I was thinking that one might be quite cool to have as a common surface drug, but underwater you have to go to specific lounges where they have gaseous pockets that you can actually do this.
Oh, apparently I was wrong. It's from the fumes from Brahmin poop.
Potato,
Yay.
potato.
Yeah.
I mean,
Also,
some drugs are being made out of mushrooms that grow on poop.
yeah,
So, you know,
yeah. I'm also going to make the observation that this top pop stuff is bubbles of a laughing gas kind of substance. What happens when you overdo it and find that you are displacing the water flow through gills?
Well, I mean, to quote Paracelsus, what makes poison or panacea is in the dose. So for all of these, if you take too much, you can have a bad
True.
time.
Oh, I think Eric has
Eric
gotten
has a
back
little
to
bit
us.
more from the stuff, and he's pulled stuff out of the compendium and his thoughts. So let's read what he says. The flowborn or siren currents are the colony organisms in the lakes of shoal that feed on psionic residue, and some shoalei have reported having vivid, lucid dreams when they fall asleep near lakes with the colony. The Crimson Tide and the Blooming Delight are both gods that cover water where the flowborn live, though the Crimson Tide covers more consumption of things and birth-rebirth, while the Blooming Delight, also called the Sea Flower, is essentially a mushroom-ceratinoid hybrid, partnership not dominion. Made sense to me at the time for the mushroom crab god to have a drug, since we've linked crabs, dreams, and psionic through the aspect of click. And from there, the drug should be derived from the organism that feeds on psionic residue and is rumoured to cause dreams, and thus the drug should cause dreams itself, though it makes the user have them immediately by knocking them unconscious. Perfect, yes. Yeah, I do remember putting the flowborn in. It was just the tie-ins with the god stuff that I didn't want to sort of overspeak when you've done so much work on that. So yeah, red tide I think we should absolutely have in, and having that sort of connotation with some of the religious beliefs on the moon sounds really, really good.
Good.
Okay, let's move on to our next one. We have Angler's Dream. Naturally occurring on a number of different deep sea creatures, it is both bioluminescent and psycholuminescent once processed, and ingested it temporarily increases one's psionic power and gives the user a euphoric high. However, prolonged use will cause synaptic burnout. So Angler's Dream to me sounds like a sort of weaker version of the issues with froth from Psypearls, and is possibly because it grows on a number of different sea creatures, etc., etc. It's like the poor man's Psypearl, with all the problems that comes with that.
Yeah, and all the benefits.
Yes. All right, let me make that note on this then, and we'll read the next one. Poor man's Psypearls. There we go. So the next one is Freediver. Originally used in religious ceremonies, it induces a feeling of numbness and out-of-body sensation, derived from a complex combination of carefully tended coral. So that one was relatively simple, and yeah, I mean, we use coral for just about everything else. So do we want this to be from coral or from coral with an H? Because the suggestion in chat didn't have the H in it. But I assume this would need to be from one of our psionically active coral strains.
Probably. Makes more sense. Um, could be made from the ground up exoskeleton thereof. With the residue, except and not from the living material of the coral.
That's a really cool idea, because that would also make it a lot more reasonable and accessible, because of course the living corals are very heavily tended and harvested and controlled because of how important they are. So it coming from the not living section, that's actually a really good idea. That makes it a lot more accessible. Okay, we'll go with that. Next one is Siglass, which I did some tweaks to this one based on the description, because I could see narratively how this would be used. So Siglass, the most expensive drug on shoal, as it's made in part from Temps coral. Crystallized psi impressions of incredibly strong feelings that impart that feeling to the user. But after they're crystallized, they're often distorted to be far more intense than they would have been able to experience otherwise. These psi dreams can last quite a long time, and once the ride starts, you're there for the whole trip. The reason why I could narratively see how these would work is, one, if we're using Temps coral to make these little sort of flecks of memory, that's going to be expensive because of how important Temps coral is. But two, it made me think of
Temps coral is literally money.
Yes, it made me think of Flecked from some of Dan Abnett's work, and it also made me think of a series I read to my book club called Glass Books of the Dream Eaters.
Oh,
Aiden was part of that book club. Would you like to talk about those for a minute?
Okay, so set in I- I'm not even going to call it steampunk London because it's more historical fiction than it is steampunk, because the only real steampunk elements are the fantastical blue glass and the process, as they call it. But the whole premise largely boils down to a trio of different characters. One is a firecracker of a Caribbean heiress who has returned to the British Isles. One is a Prussian military surgeon who is there to attend to the prince of the state that he is from. And one is a professional hitman, all stumbling upon this large conspiracy to usurp power of the British throne by dint of using a refined material known as blue glass that is capable of storing memories, dreams, and entire psyches at times. So, like, one of the things, the first time they discover these things is they have little playing card sized cards where they peer into it, and one of the first ones they introduce is literally somebody's memory of the raunchiest lay they ever had. That when you stare into the glass, you experience it from their own recollection. It's been pulled out of their brain and put into the glass. Later on they're finding entire books of these things. It is a interesting read. It is written like a serial drama, which works really well for it, I find. And very much adventure, conspiracy, and shenanigans of really cool nature.
So yeah,
Um,
when I read that entry, I was like, I've read something like this before, and it was really cool. So we should definitely keep that.
yeah. Um, that sounds like a refinement of technology on Temp's coral
Yeah.
more than an actual drug. I'm not trying putting I mean this sounds like a natural evolution of what you do with a Temp's coral in the library.
Yeah, I just wonder
Um,
with this distortion, because we know we've said before when we were discussing Temps Coral and our cleric banker librarians, who are all of those things at once, and that's just normal for them. The regulation of Temps Coral and the warping memories is extremely frowned upon. So I wonder if these distorted versions would end up as a sort of black market thing.
so I would put up two things,
What's that?
if I may.
Go.
One thing is the glass is the natural thing you find in a library.
Yeah.
This is the refined Thames coral you find in the library. A Thames lens or a Thames foci, or how we need some sort of a name that evokes this distortion.
Hmm.
Um, it's no longer glass. It's not easy to see through. It's a focused on a it's a focus device, ergo a lens, a silence or would be the hyper focused illegal version of that glass. You have the normal glass that you use to store stuff, and then and then you have the lens, which is used to create um, an overload of whatever's stored inside. It's not just what you have inside; it's more. It's concentrated, and it can and will override your own psyche unless you're somehow capable of mastering
So we've kind of also created better than life chips.
Oh
it.
boy.
I thought that was the point.
Yeah, no, I'm just
Yay,
saying,
Beatles.
we have managed once again to take all these cool things that have parallels in other settings and gone, here's an underwater version that's uniquely weird and ours.
Yep.
I see absolutely nothing wrong with this, personally.
Uh, I would call it abyssal temps, essentially. Something you sink into.
Abyssal Temps. That's a pretty cool name.
Benthic or benthic temps. Something like that. Something very deep, dark.
Cool. Well, we'll have time to have a think on that and refine it.
Yep.
Erica says Glass Books very much reminded me of Call of Cthulhu meets Hermetic Alchemy, and boy, did it have a lot of historical alchemical stuff in it. Wasn't the third book even called The Chemical Wedding? Yes, it was. Yes, it was. If anybody hasn't read the Glass Book of the Dream Eaters, the Chemical,
Chemical Marriage.
That was it. It was the Chemical Marriage. It was called. But yes,
If anybody wants an extended review of historical alchemy, spare yourself 4 hours and come talk to me.
All right, let's
have...
get through the last of these because
Yes.
we've only got 3/4 of an hour left. Where does the time go? Where does it go? Why does it go? Okay, Barb's Kiss, a hallucinogenic analgesic that causes the user's lips and eyes to bleed.
That sounds traumatic.
Yes,
Yeah.
but much hard drug usage is.
I mean, granted.
What I liked about this one is that it's just simple.
What I like about it is it explains how vampire stories arrived in Shoal.
Oh, that's a great idea.
You just add it to a Victorian-esque culture and voila.
Oh my god, I
Yep.
love that.
You just absolutely made her day with that because, I mean, it is no secret that Lady Red here loves her vampire fiction.
Still a bit of
We
love
have
story.
been visited by the Church of Discount Dad.
My
Yay.
God.
My God. Okay. We now have discount vampires.
Worship Discount Dan. So here we are. Oh boy, I can hear that in the Discount Dan voice. That's the best part right now.
You are now hearing this in my voice.
That's like I can't ever think of the word kitty sprinkles without it being in Morgan Freeman's voice.
Zalcion, if you want to get into DMs with me about that, we can have a chat about things and see if I'll be of any use to you. By all means, please do drop into my DMs on Discord, the_lady_red, or find me through the orcs. It will tell you, whatever Discord tells you, but I accept all DMs when I see them flash up. So by all means, please. All right, let's carry on with what we've got because time is an illusion and goes far too fast. So, Jelly
Have
Belly
no
Brews.
confusion. There's just the here and the now.
Time is an illusion, lunchtime especially so.
See, I was going for the song off the Cyberpunk soundtrack, but
Whereas
that also
I was
worked.
going for Douglas Adams. Okay.
Indeed.
Jelly Belly Brews. Some forms of the local bell jellyfish are utilised to ferment cave lichen, cave herbs, and sometimes smaller fish, while they are boiled over an active thermal vent. This is seen as a local tradition not too dissimilar to brewing holistic sodas, moonshine in the Appalachians. While the taste seems to range from pungent to medicinal, few outside of the local populace ever indulge in the brew. Often, drinking such substances is seen as a rite of passage or initiation held by the locals.
Having had Appalachian moonshine, that could very much be described as rocket fuel. It's a rite of initiation, all fucking right. Holy crap.
What was really cool about this was when that one got dropped, that then sparked off like a day-long discussion between various forum members about the concept of alcohol on Shoal. So I'm going to read out what I amalgamated afterwards from what everyone had to say. So, alcohol on Shoal. We will need the pooler jellyfish, which is native to Shoal's polar seas but can be found in almost every region nowadays. To survive the radiation-blasted icy waters, this jellyfish has evolved a special digestive system. The bacteria in its stomach break down organic compounds into an alcoholic slurry that is stored in the dome of the jellyfish and slowly consumed as it flows along. The benefits of this process are twofold. It helps the jellyfish more efficiently heat itself, and it acts as a deterrent for predators by giving the jellyfish an extremely bitter taste. Ancient Shoaly people discovered that they could control the flavour of the slurry depending on what they fed the jellyfish. Nowadays, they are used as living stills, with ownership and breeding permits required for their use. The alcohol is harmlessly extracted from the body via a small tube. After extraction, the slurry is strained, purified, and refined before being bottled. As this creature was transported to different biomes, subspecies began to emerge. Things like ones raised near sea vents have a spicy taste to their slurry, while ones raised near brine pools have stronger alcohol content. Also, they never stop growing and are biologically immortal. Which has got to be, I thought, the most shoaly way of approaching the concept of alcohol it would be possible to come up with.
And I,
Yeah.
one tiny note,
Sure?
just remember, we still have vines in Georgia, the Middle Eastern nation, that have been there for the last 1,000 years and are still bearing fruit.
Yep.
Vines, as in grapevines for
Yes.
wine. So on Shoal, we have immortal grapevines for alcohol that have been there since before the Forge War. That's a tagline. We've been
that's a
here.
darn good tagline, actually. Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
cool thing
it's
from real world history that is related to this. I have a bit of a fascination with volcanology, specific volcanic events in particular. Again, weird brain, I'm a strange person. And one of the really cool things they found when they were excavating Herculaneum, which was from the same disaster as Pompeii when Vesuvius erupted during the Roman era, they found some old wine fermenters, effectively. And they were able to excavate these, and they still had the residue of the grape must from the wines that they made back then. And I don't know if anybody knows a huge amount about winemaking, but carrying over the must from batch to batch is a thing. They were able to extract that must, and they're still making wines using Herculaneum grape must. And I think that is ludicrously cool.
And just think
Yeah,
about
that's
it. We have
pretty
the
rad.
date where it was preserved.
Yes.
That's from 66.
Yes,
So
Baron of Derpshire, that will come in, but that will come in narratively. When people have either our immortal wines or ridiculous jellyfish beer, it will be known colloquially as getting bladdered, which is a very British thing to say.
yes,
Yeah, I mean, the British way of doing things really is take a noun, put ed at the end of it, and it is now
It
the
now means
verb
getting
for
drunk.
getting
Yeah,
utterly drunk.
yes. Got absolutely trolleyed last week. You can do it with anything in a British. You just need a stupid word and a British accent. It's fine.
I actually had something very nice to drink. Oh, it wasn't very British. So,
See, Archon Erica, getting sobered is instead what happens when you have Klatchian coffee. Unfortunately, if you have too much of it, you get nerd, which is a very horrifying experience. I don't recommend it.
I can see your Terry Pratchett from here.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, I couldn't resist at that juncture.
All right, let's go through our last few because time is in fact an illusion. We are not going to get to map making today, and that's okay. All right, Brokeclaw Energizer, formerly the Energizer/Starter. Capable of enhancing psionic potential, it was legal until corruption from algae corruption to the original stock. It is no longer legal after the Shattered Class incident, where 2 generations of Titan pilots were psionically killed in an overdose in what was thought to be a cut-down dosage. I liked the historical connections that were built into that one, and I can see the narrative idea now of, aspiring Titan pilots who are maybe not at the top of their class, but are desperate to become pilots and don't have access to psi pearls or whatever, going for this black market psionic enhancer that has this potential to be. I mean, it's like the current issue with drugs being cut with fentanyl. And you don't know what you're taking, and if you react badly to it, which some people do, that's it, you're just gone. Narratively, I thought that could be very interesting, so I liked that one for those reasons.
Gold. Stolen. Take it.
Like ergot
Ergo
poisoning in
poisoned.
wheat. Yep. Surely can also get jellied. Absolutely.
Oh yeah. They gel together beautifully.
Baron got laddered last night, lads. Yep.
All right, we then had hermit hash / thinking powder, a hydrophobic powdery substance derived.
Thinking powder sounds like it belongs on Blue's Clues.
Let me go through it. A hydrophobic powdery substance derived from a mixture of minerals and metals, induces hyperactivity and increases confidence, causes emotional distress upon fading. It's basically, I think it was described originally as Coke 1.5, needs some more refinement before it's Coke 2.0.
Oh my god.
How? You know what? No. Thinking beings will absolutely snort everything. So yes.
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 Or, stick it in a wrap and place it over their gills and inhale it that way, because that was still just the coolest idea. All right,
Yes.
and then one that came from chat while we were going through things today is drift, a fungal substance that causes altered perception of time. When ingested, time seems to slow. This is the opposite of reality, however, as users are observed to move and react very slowly, sometimes drifting with the current. When the effect wears off, users find they have lost time and often have no idea where they got where they ended up. And yeah, that seems that seems perfectly in keeping with everything else we've come up with.
Yeah.
I have one more drug to give
What do
it.
you have?
It's called Sundance,
Mm-hmm.
as in dancing to the sun. It's a parasite. It's a synaptic parasite that you attach. You push it through your gills, essentially, and it attaches itself to your neural network, and it makes you hypersensitive to the same flows of psychic emanations that allow you to fold space and jump. And it makes you feel the magnetic pulse of the Sholey Sun's star system. You essentially your biorhymes twist with the magnetic pulse of the main star of the system.
That is trippy to think about.
And
And
I imagine it'd be very, very easy to lose your sense of self as a result.
yes, no. The thing is that but it fades away by the parasite dying from overstimulation. Though it, of course, if something is wrong, it might just stay there and you will drift forever. But Sundance is considered much like sacred mushrooms in many places, as it gives you a sense of oneness with the universe and a sense of understanding some sort of a universal language. Also, incidentally, it what causes some showlights to incidentally, stupidly, and unintentionally jump through the folds in space that allows space jumping in our system. So some of them may have caused incidents when they just vanished.
A drug that makes you dimension hop. Now there's a concept.
What I'd love to do with
Yes,
that is to
have
have
you
it
heard of
so.
Dune?
I would love with this to have it so that that's never confirmed. There are rumors that, oh, if you do this, there's the potential and you'll jump and you'll never be seen again, you vanish between, etc., etc. But the police are like, no, it's just missing persons. These are just missing
Exactly.
persons. If
Yes.
nothing weird happened.
Yeah, of course. And then science happens a few thousand years later. It's spice, but instead of worm shit, it's an actual worm you stick in your gills.
Yep.
So here's something.
Steel Griffin's in there going, this is literally the spice melange! Yes. But now it's surely
Ass.
the crabs see all. Of course it comes back to the crabs.
God damn
Crabs.
it.
Oh no,
It's-
Steel Griffin has an idea. Oh
That's
no.
an idea.
Oh no. Brace yourselves.
Call using it riding the worm.
Oh my god.
Down.
Fine, that's
have
in.
I-
All right,
I
let
have-
me go
I
through
have
now.
I
little
love how
black one.
begrudging you sound when you said that.
We are very much stealing from other people's IP. I mean, we're making it uniquely our own and weird, but we are stealing other people's IP.
Take what you love, put it in your story.
I mean,
And do not apologize.
Riding the eel. Riding the eel might be slightly less on the nose. Yeah, I like that. All right, let me go through and count how many we came up with. And we did what, 16 foods, I think I said?
something like
Yes.
that, yeah.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. You guys came up with definitively more drugs than foods. Good job. You
Are
are
you
terrible
really-
people, chat.
Are you even remotely surprised?
No! All right, we've only got half an hour left, so what I'm probably going to do is we'll talk a little bit about 007.
Yes.
Yes, we'll put any notes we want to into 007. I'd like to talk about Weekend's End on Sunday night before we go. We might end a few minutes early this week. That'll be fine. Next week, we are just purely going to do some map making, I think, and putting some more cities into place. But I can't say I'm sad we haven't got to it because we've had a lot of fun. This has been... how many of those were yours, Zork? A lot. Many.
Zork, when you need bad choices.
Talk
not
about the
wrong
famous
there.
crab book, How to Serve Shoaly. I mean, the crabs would have a book that is entitled How to Serve Shoaly, and it would be, you know, completely viably in print in their own spheres.
To serve crab. It's a cookbook. Yeah, no shit.
Yes.
Everybody
Right.
else is eating out, and the crab people are like, yeah.
All right, let me click over then.
Convergent cooking evolution.
Are you ready for 007?
Yes. Blasto is ready.
All right, 007. I took all the notes that you guys gave me, and this is what we currently have so far. What I really like, what I'd like to do narratively with the concept of 007 is to have it be one of those weird convergent mimetic things that happens, so that when humanity and the Shoaly, you know, get past the initial... who the fuck are you? Oh god, there are actual other aliens out there, and oh god, our worlds are so different from each other, and just annihilating each other isn't really viable, and you know, they get past all of that nonsense, and one day you've got the humans and the Shoaly sitting down discussing cultural things, and they both come to the horrifying realization that convergent evolution is a thing, and convergent mimetic legacy is a thing, because the humans have 007 movies, and the Shoaly have 007 movies, and they have very similar titles, even though the plots are completely different, and nobody knows why, and everybody is concerned by this. So, things we've established so far. We know that Benny the Hermit Mech is in every 007 movie. Sometimes he's there on purpose, he's actually part of the movie. Sometimes he's only caught in one shot that he wasn't supposed to be in. Sometimes he's just listed in the credits. Sometimes he's in the accident reports for nonsense that happened on set, but he's always there. We know that the major enemy terror faction of operatives is going to be called Undertow rather than Spectre. We know that one of the more memorable henchmen from 007 movies is Podjob, a podlin with a sharpened shell and jet propulsion system to launch himself across rooms.
Oh my god.
We also have the henchman Ironjaw, a fiddler crab-style ceratinoid with an iron claw. The supervillain Golden Claw is a pistol shrimp-like ceratinoid with an actual pistol built into his golden claw. 007's equipment specialist support is called C, though he prefers fiddler. He's a gadget crab. There is a tie-in snack that anytime a new movie comes out is called Bubbelos, a promotional snack served at screenings of 007 made from mushroom-stuffed fried kelp rings. We also have a list of known movies. We have 007, Moon Sailor, 007, Golden Pike, 007, Secret Agent Squid, 007, Shoalfall, 007, Dare Thee to Pop, 007, Fry Another Day, 007...
Oh my god. Really?
Yep. 007, License to Krill. 007, You Only Dive Twice. 007, Coral is Forever. 007, Terrors from the Reef. 007, Thunder Squall. 007, The Sea is Not Enough / The Whirl is Not Enough. I like to think it's the same movie, just with regional differences in the title. 007, Octopussy. 007, Trench Raker / Mernraker. Again, regional naming. 007, From Shoal with Love. 007, Swim and Let Fry. 007, The Crab Who Loved Me. 007, For Your Gills Only. I like to think that one's a drug story.
Probably.
007,
Probably.
View to a Krill. 007, The Fish with the Golden Gill / Gold Flipper.
Gold Flipper.
Yes.
007, Quantum of Shoaless.
Oh my god.
God.
007, The Sound of Silence, which would also be a drug movie. 007, A Time for Crab. And 007, Shell Game.
Okay.
Okay.
Was a time for crab you. I swear, a time for crab was fucking you, wasn't it, Eric?
All right, let's see what else
I
has
don't
come up
think
in chat.
I think every species claims 007. I don't think it's always a crab. I think
Oh, God, no.
everyone has their own 007.
Or
Ragnar.
Or-
Oh, you fucker.
what
I
we
should've
do
known.
is, it's not that there are many 007s in each of the different cultures. What it is that we sort of combine 007 and Doctor Who, where 007 goes through like eras, and then, you know, the current 007 retires and the next one comes on board and it's a different species, and that's a hotly contested topic in, you know, media circles and fan bases on Shoal.
Yes.
And that's where, you know, your Coral Network arguments spring up. Is, well, the only 007 for me was when he was a podlin, you know? This
The
list is
real
so very
Buffalo.
Knife Fight City. Yeah.
You know, I'm down.
How many actors have played 007? Many.
Many,
Yes.
comma, yes. Many, comma, yes.
I guess we know which ones are the Crab Roger Moore Bond films. It's always time for Crab.
I am suffering psychic damage, but I'm laughing so hard I'm regenerating it as it comes.
The drug stories of the Crab Timothy Dalton Bond films. 007 and Dr. Bloom.
James Bond.
All right, let me put in some more notes. So we know that we need to have...
Oh my god.
We know we need to make it James Pond at some point. James Pond is what they always call the ones that are based in the land-based lake 007 movies.
Yeah.
Okay, what else did we say that I need? Bubble 07 is like Doctor Who. One actor retires. Oh god. Thank you, Anki, you're helping. One actor retires. New one is different species. Oh god, I'm still in caps lock. Thank you, Anchor. I'll deal with it later. One actor retires. New
Fuck
is...
yeah, caps lock.
New one is different species. Coral Network arguments ensue. There we go. What else have we said in chat? 007 and Dr. Bloom. I think that needs to be a movie title.
Yeah.
.007. I'm just going to call it Dr. Bloom. There we go. And that's going to have like algal warfare in it or something. Crab David Tennant is universally loved. James Bond is already a Time Lord. He's the Bachelor, you know, between a less than master's degree and a doctorate. So the land-based lake is surely UK. Oh, I mean, probably. We'll name.
my
We could also go with convergent naming there and just name an area Swindon. If you have time to gab, you have time for crab. Digiman!
Wow. God damn it, Digiman.
Caps lock makes your messages so cool. Yeah, Anka's currently in the caps lock phase of maturity. Swindon, Erica!
Oh my god.
We have gone fully off the rails this week and into nothing good. Alright, is there any other 007 lore you guys want to add? Anything else you want added in at the present time for 007?
The name of 007's commander is not M, it's Mern.
It's not M, it's what?
It's Mern.
Mern, okay. Where did I put? Okay, let's put it here. So,
Wilf is asking why you'd be so cruel as to name anything after Swindon.
007's commander is
No,
called.
commander. What's her name? M is the person who gives 007 the orders,
Yeah,
Yeah.
right? Okay, so Mern. Oh,
it stands for Mern. There we go. We have that note added in.
oh.
He drives an Astro Marlin.
I hate you so much, whoever just said that.
007's signature vehicle is a bioengineered. What did you say, Astro Marlin?
Yeah.
I really shouldn't be encouraging you lot with all of this, but you're having far too much fun.
Correct.
In Her Majesty's Secret Shoal. I think we need to workshop that name a bit more. Every movie with a crab 007 ends with the agent eating his foe. Potentially. I think we'll need to come up with what the plots are to see if that makes sense. Is there a 007 writer like Ian Fleming? I mean, you tell me. 007 is afraid of sea spiders.
That sounds weird.
It does.
It's very Indiana Jones, though, and I'm all for doing that. Bubble.
Instead of laser cutting 007, they're using a volcanic vent. They instead of lowering the hostages or 007 into a pool with sharks, they raise him up to the surface.
007 supervillains threaten terminal ascension. Oh. For goodness sake, I can't type today.
On Her Majesty's Secret Serpents.
To the surface rather than with shark pools. Okay, let me get back into chat and see what else we've got.
Awful puns, that's what we've got.
Puns are making Steel Griffin irrationally angry. Spinning.
Okay, Steel Griffin, that makes it sound like a porn. Under Her Majesty's Secret Surface. Really?
Yeah, no, I prefer On Her Majesty's Secret Serpents.
That just sounds like the naughty spin-off.
Oh my god,
somebody made.
Ed has the best idea. The writer for 007 is anonymous. It's Benny!
Oh my
It
god.
explains why he's in all of them.
That it does.
Oh dear. Right, what else have you got, chat, or have we run out at this point?
What other dumb fuckery is afoot?
Does 007 have a big OMEC? I think it's going to depend on which movie we're talking about. 007, The Sea of Dreams, a sadly cancelled project due to the lead crab murdering half the cast while high on superfentanyl. We did invent superfentanyl today. See, it all ties in. That's why we're also talking about 007.
We apparently not only have invented it, apparently we've sniffed some of it. So let's
Shoal's
move
got to
on.
have adult content too, right? Yes, it does. And no, we're not elaborating. And oh god, I'm not thinking about it. I refuse. I'm moving on.
Yes, yes, exactly. We've all seen enough, whatchamacallit, Helsing to know where this is going.
Introspective just says cloaca and explains nothing else. Thank you, Introspective 90.
Japan is Oh god, what is Shoal's equivalent of Japan? The place where all the weird shit comes from.
I mean, Shoal is just one big Japan. It's weird all over. But it would be land-based.
Probably.
Land is what's weird for Shoal.
Yep. Land is what's weird. They have a small, I think somewhere along the benthic fissure in the middle of the map, at the bottom right edge, there are a few islands. We can have Japan sit over there, being weird, over the tip. Just sits there, being weird, alone.
Furthest point is
Alaska,
weird,
but-
but they're murderous weird instead of horny, and thank God for that. The place where all the weird shit comes from is called the Orcs. Okay, we will name Shoaly Japan Orcs, or Australia.
Oxlandia.
Orcslandia? Okay.
Yeah.
I will make a note for myself at the very top of the thing that we need to put in Orcslandia.
Yes.
Map considerations, okay. Orcslandia exists, and it's the Shoaly equivalent to Japan. It's where all the weird shit happens. There we go.
You guys made it happen. You guys thought it was a good idea and wanted it to happen. It's on you. You're taking at least half the share of the blame.
Oh, chat's to blame for everything. It's always chat's fault. Them's the rules.
Oh yeah, no, no problem. I just want them to know that.
All right, we've got about 10 minutes till I'm normally due to wrap up, so we'll probably sort of pop things towards an end here, because I don't think we're going to get anything productive done in 10 minutes. As Baron Dopshire says, we take the blame, you take the psychic damage. Yes! Truer words rarely spoken.
Yeah, that's accurate, alright.
Yep, that's accurate. I'm a GM. I'm used to taking psychic damage from people making bad puns at my expense.
All right, I
job.
was originally going to show a thing through Clip Studio because we were going to do map stuff today. That isn't happening, so what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to load in an image, and we'll do it that way. So,
Imagio.
yeah, image file. It's going to be in art. My art finished. Beeple stuff. WBPL stuff. Now I've just got to go through this ridiculous amount of stuff I have in here. There's the one for this year. Open. Okay. And then it's going to be like 3,000 times too big. And I will have to tinker with it.
It is ginormous.
Yes. I tend to create in very large canvases. The OBS is just like, why would you do that? No. There we go.
That is wonderful.
There we go. That will do. So, this week is Solstice Slam on Sunday. Solstice Slam.
Sunday.
Solstice Slam is this Sunday at 9 p.m. EST. For those who aren't aware, this is one of Hausakar's wrestling show big events that come around periodically, and we get, some special matches and title challenges for the belts beyond the normal chaos and nonsense that we enjoy. Well, it just so happens that this time around, for Solstice Slam, the Brotherhood and the Desirs, which is Aiden and I, are fighting over the tag team belts, which, of course, naturally, is currently, rightfully, in the hands of the Desirs.
Darn straight.
So I got to thinking, and it occurs to me that as strong as Hausakar's Lariat is, and as popular as Parallax's Paralyzer, actions have consequences.
Yeah, like, Parallax having his spine dusted repeatedly at the start of the series.
And the nice thing is that I get to start the weekend every week with you fine folks on Fridays. We always start our weekend here with Shoal and whatever nonsense we've come up with, and do fun things like war crimes and drugs. And I don't see any good reason why I shouldn't get to end the weekend with everybody on WBPLW2 and as more than just the admin. So, as I see it, weekends on WBPL 76 are something I get to bookend, and that makes this my house. So,
Okay.
I would love to see everybody on Sunday, and I just want you to know that if the Brotherhood takes the tag belt, I know who I'm going to be training with for a comeback tour, and we will have a good time. So I would like to see everybody on Sunday, and I
Just dropped a big hint about it, too.
I would very much like to see you guys there. If you have the ability, we will be here on Sunday for Solstice Slam at 9 p.m. EST. There will be goob voting. There will be a good time. There's a new opening screen that I put together. It's very similar to the old one, but has some new elements in it. And I would love to see you guys here on Sunday if you can.
Yeah.
Steel Griffin,
Do
I
that.
would never do promos. I'm not nearly cool enough to do promos. I wouldn't do that. I'm just warning Halzakar. That's all. Whose house, Verith Ragnar? I think you'll work it out. What's your homework? Okay, I have homework for you guys. We have the list of 007 movies. I will pop them over into the auxiliary as a pinned comment. I would like you to tell me what the plot synopsis of each movie is.
All right,
Write me
so
plot synopses of the movies for 007.
before we go,
Yes.
I actually have one last one.
What's that?
So, guys, Mo pops in periodically. Y'all might know this guy from chat. You might also know, has done interesting things, such as making a miniature golf course map for Battle Mechs. He's working on a secret project for next year. And one of the things he specifically asked last night when I was talking to him, one of the 007 movies, it sounds like, is going to be made into a billboard for his next project. Which one
So,
do you guys
What
think?
I think we should do, your homework this week, chat, write up synopses for the 007 movies. Whichever one we like the most, we'll ask Mo to make that one into a billboard. How does that sound?
Hell yeah.
Amazing. Yes.
Thank you, Kai. I'm sure somebody will send that to Halzakar, and I'll get a DM a bit later on tonight. Like, what are you doing?
Promoing.
I would
Throwing
never.
down the gauntlet.
I would never.
Of course. They don't get the gauntlet. They get the belt.
I mean, Parallax has earned it. I have not forgotten the early days of WBPLW and what he did. He will pay. All right, we got to get out of here. In about half an
Bye.
hour, Tex and Depp will be here joining you guys for whatever nonsense they're getting up to this week. I've heard no news one way or the other. So, take bio breaks, grab yourselves a drink and a snack. Enjoy the rest of your Friday afternoon. Have a wonderful weekend. And we will see you guys here on Sunday for Solstice Slam. Anything you chaps want to
Nope.
say before we get out of here?
No, I think
Nope.
I've run out of puns.
You've run out of puns? We did go through quite a few of them today.
I don't believe you.
All right. Have a good weekend, chat. We love you. Good night.
Or
Good night.
Tyke.